Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference 2025 Meet the Speaker series. Today, we are talking to Grant Murrell from London. Grant was with us last year, and you are back this year. How are you, Grant?
Good to be here, John. Good to be here, and looking forward to coming back. Looking forward to it very much. It's been an interesting year. We had a chat before this interview, and it's been an up and down year. There's been some stuff going on with my family. I've lost a couple of people very, very close to me. So it's been a rocky year, and the challenges happen. But it's really, really nice to be doing normal things. I mean, I was still doing that during this time. I was doing what I had to do, but it's nice to be back in full force actually and helping people.
It's very much,
Just come back from Bali as well. Just come back from.
that's a nice way to finish the year, right?
It was, yeah. I was coaching and training at a retreat out there. So it's a business retreat with from a holistic slant. So it's
Right.
helping people with business strategy and their mindset, etc., for some of our elite clients.
And I want to come back to that in a little while if I can, because that's a really interesting one. Because I know, as we spoke earlier, and it's something that I'm familiar with as well, but I think it has real benefits. But just in terms of your talk last year, you had pretty much had a full room. Everybody loved it. So for people who haven't met you yet, do you want to just give a little bio to Grant Morrell? Who is he?
Okay.
Um, the bio's on the website, obviously, but you know what? It's better coming from the
Okay.
person themselves.
I suppose over the last 22 years now, 22, I think, 22 years, myself and a team, international team, have helped thousands of entrepreneurs, business owners, hypnotherapists, holistic practitioners all over the well, so all over at least 15 countries. I've lost count now. 15 plus countries, probably more like 20 countries.
Mm.
Help them to increase their profits in less time, have less stress, more fun and fulfillment in their life. Typically help them increase their profits for between 20 and 200% in just a few months by working with their team. And everybody does have a team, whether you know it or not. Their team, their systems, their mindset, and their strategy, so that they can live a life of passion, which is really important, a life of passion, purpose, freedom, and they can develop a business and a lifestyle that can become a legacy for generations to come. And that's the
Yeah.
whole reason
Now,
of
you've
it.
said something there, and you've just intrigued me.
What was that?
You've said everyone has a team, whether they know it or not.
Right.
But given that a lot of therapists are self-employed and work on their own,
Uh-huh.
you might explain that one.
I would love to explain it. Yeah, because so many people work in silo, and most people start out that way at the beginning, which is fine. But sooner or later, you do have a team. Now, what I mean by that, whether that is an accountant, a bookkeeper, a personal assistant, who of course can be virtual. I'm sure you know that. You can get some very, very competent virtual personal assistants, VPAs, who work in different countries. Uh,
Hmm.
and they can hire them for at least a couple of hours a week, even just a couple of hours, and their cost of income is way cheaper than us, and they're very proficient. Occasionally, you got to kiss a couple of frogs before you find a prince, as it were. Some aren't good, some aren't, but some are very good and very competent.
All right.
Um, and that's the short version of that. So you have a
Where do you
team.
find them?
Well, your accountant, your web
No,
designer.
not your virtual assistants.
Where you find them, you can
Yeah.
go to Upwork.
Okay.
Upwork. You can go to freedomgeeks.com.
Right.
Very good. And they match them for you. It depends on your need and what you need, but you could outsource things. Okay.
Okay. Now, can I suppose I'm going off on a tangent, but we're actually going into your presentation in essence by doing this. But I am going off on a tangent, which is that you said something to me earlier about the 80-20 rule, right?
Right.
And it's just after hitting into me here with the Upwork stuff and the virtual assistant. So do you want to explain that 80-20 rule? Because that actually is where that stuff I think fits in perfectly
Right.
naturally, right?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's not the 80-20 rule you're thinking, is that
I no, I understand.
20% of work, because that holds pretty much true. But this is when people come to expand the businesses, when you're getting that nice position where you are busy, you've got quite a lot going on, and then suddenly you're like, I can't cope anymore. I've got more to do. That's too late. Most people leave it then and then like, now I need to get an assistant. Too late. They work to that 100% capacity and then they go looking for someone. Because when you get that virtual personal assistant, web designer, graphics person doing your social media, whatever that person's going to be, guess what? You're going to have to train them. You're going to have to train them in who you are, what you do. You're going to have to onboard them. Takes a little bit of time. And yes, it does. There's no way around it. Something will have to give. But why wait till you at 100% capacity? You should wait until you're about 80% capacity because you've seen the trend. You're getting busier from 20%, 30%, 40%. The trend is going on. It's not just a blip in your diary. You had a busy month. It's going up and up and up. And once you get to 80%, that's when you need to recruit someone because you are going to spend a little bit of your time training them how to do the job for your business.
Which becomes a lot more difficult if you're 100% at capacity
That's
anyway.
right. That's when you put it, and that's when people say, oh, I haven't got time to get someone else. Well, you need to find time. It's not going to get easier. Something's got to give. So if people being coached by me, once they get to the 80%, that's when I say you need to do it.
So that is now solution-focused business advice.
There you go. There's a,
That's brilliant. How did you get into coaching, Grant?
how to get into coaching. I There's many ways to answer that, but I suppose I didn't. I mean, it's a bit of a hammy answer, but when I was a kid at school,
Mm,
I hated school. Hated school. I couldn't see the relevance and didn't. I was pretty good at it, but I
mm.
didn't really like it. And I was. But one day it was raining, not unusual. It was raining in London, and we had what was known as a wet break. And they said, "Oh, the wet break. The break's over. Let's go and have a break inside the classroom." We were like young kids, and we was all playing, and the teacher had music on. And I looked out the window and I saw some old lady walking down the road. And I thought, I wish I was her. I wish I was out in the world doing something real. I used to play with my friends and stuff, but sometimes I felt it's just a bit pointless and a bit stupid. But I was listening to the teacher's music and I remember thinking, I don't know what those words mean. I'm too young to understand, but I can hear that whatever they're singing about is far more important than what's going on here. That's what I want to do. And I remember thinking that. And I did become a music. I was in a rock band later, and I still knew the songs and understand the words. But
But it
my
gave you
point,
your focus. It gave you your direction.
it gave me my focus. And for some reason, every time a new kid came to school, they would kind of sit them next to me and I would show them the ropes and show
Mm.
them around. And every role I've ever had in my life has always been that sales as a sales trainer, security as a security trainer, training guards to be way, way better so that they was never put in a position where they didn't know how to handle the job because there's a way more thrown at security guards than it appears to the public. They look like a lazy bunch of oafs laying about. Not true. You're trained to do an awful lot of things. Hopefully, you never have to do, but sometimes you do. And when you rarely do it, you've got to snap into
Yeah,
action.
yeah.
So I used to do that. And then in coaching, I coach other coaches now. So I got into coaching. Maybe the first thing that piqued my mind was seeing an advert in the Exchange and Mart, I think, when I was about 16 years old, an old newspaper that said, "Are you too busy working to make a living?" And I thought, what? And I sort of read it a couple
It's a
of times.
headline that'll catch your attention, all right?
Yeah, that's interesting. And it always struck my mind. And then that's how hypnosis got to my mind because I thought, quicker ways to achieve more. And I always look for the shortcut if you can. Not that it means you're missing out on doing things, but it's just a shorter way to get results. And I looked at this. And when I spent many years in the security industry, I was a private investigator, then the security industry, became a senior manager, at 150 staff, maybe four managers, etc., etc. All this stuff happened. When I started my own company after this, guess what? I had all that skill and knowledge which I had for the blue chip companies, but I was a small company. When I worked for the big company, my in tray was automatically full, over full. People were throwing work in it. When it came to working for myself, that in tray was empty. I had to learn how to, I had my skills, my trade, my profession, but you had to learn how to do that. So I started networking. I started networking for an organization called BNI, which you probably heard of.
Hmm.
I was in that for 16 years. In the end, I was the second longest serving non-executive director in the UK. But in doing so, I very quickly started seeing trends. Trends between successful businesses, unsuccessful businesses, successful people, unsuccessful people. And so I got on the management team and worked my way up. And you were seeing this because you've been looking at their statistics, what I would now call a dashboard, and you're looking at it and you're measuring some matrix, and you can start to see trends. It doesn't give the whole picture, but it gives an indication of what's going on with that person in that business. And you can normally see it. Now, one of the guys in my group was a coach. When coaching was very unpopular in the UK, and he was a coach, and I went through a very bad relationship split up, which really pulled me down. And I sought answers by myself. As a kid, I was always known as Little Mr. Questions. I had 1,000 questions, and that carried on. So I asked myself these questions: Why do I feel this way? What is this bringing to me that I never had before? What's lacking in me? Why does that trigger this? And I loads of questions, and I pretty much found a protocol, an answer. Didn't read any books on it. I learned it all myself. A couple of years later, that person I knew who was a coach went through a similar situation, and I unofficially coached him through it. And he said, "You're very wise. How do you know this?" I said, "Well, I've been through it." He said, "You probably make a bloody good coach." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Half think coaches need more help than the people they're helping. I don't be a bloody coach." But the seed was planted. A couple of years later, I was with my girlfriend. We was at an event and they was talking about training people to be coaches. She's nudging me. She said, "You've got to do this. If you don't do this, I'll never speak to you again." She said, "Because this is so much you. You do this anyway, you may as well get paid for it." So it kind of rattled around and I
Mm.
spoke to people and they said I said, "I won't be a coach, but I'll be a consultant," I said. But some years later, I did this and I started working with another coach. We worked together for a while, and then he started training me later, and I was doing my own stuff after that. And that's how it. So it all came together from
You
when I
know,
was
yeah. Yeah.
old. From various stages, bits come together, and that's why I become a coach because I think the world's about communication. I
Mhm.
think most of the world's troubles are about lack of communication. So my mission is to take 1 million leaders and help them to live life without limits
Okay.
because then they can clearly
And that's
communicate
the key,
with
yeah.
the
That's
world.
the key. So in terms of hypnotherapists, and I mean your talk is on getting clients for hypnotherapists,
Clients on demand.
clients on demand. So what advice would you or what advice would you give to hypnotherapists
Begin,
from all you've seen?
begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
Um, begin, if you want to be a hypnotherapist, ask yourself the reason, why do I want to be a hypnotherapist? Provocational, let me prod you in the chest with the greatest love. Why do you want to be a hypnotherapist? Why do you want to do it? And what is your desired outcome? If you're started here, you want to be a hypnotherapist, and that sounds fantastic. How do you want that to look, your hypnotherapy practice? Because one thing is there's 168 hours in a week, non-negotiable. Doesn't matter if you're you, me, Richard Branson, there's 168 hours.
Yeah.
So don't ever tell me that someone's got more time than you. Impossible. We all have the same time. It's how you choose to allocate it. If you want to go out and have 5 kids and lots of other voluntary work and stuff, is that going to impact on your spare time? Of course it is. Of course. You've got 168 hours a week. It depends what you choose to do with it. So, and then, as John and I were talking before this, about how you allocate that time, how you work at your best performance within that time to squeeze the most out of that lemon, if you will. So that's the thing to do. But look at how do you want that hypnotherapy practice to be? Because if you don't have a plan, something else will plan it for you and will drag it out of control. What I mean is, if you're a mother of kids and you want to drop your kids to school in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, and you've got that window of a few hours in the middle, and that's how you want your practice to be, and you're based in your hometown, that's fantastic as long as you know that. The worst thing that can happen to you is you blow up, you become massive, and people want you to jump on planes and fly all over the world. That's not going to be for you. So start as you mean to go on. If you do want to become the biggest in your country or you want to be international, if you want to be face to face, if you want to be online, if you want to be a combination of it, Think how you want this to look in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
In a whole, when I coach people, I take them through a whole range of
Really.
goals in their personal life, their business life, etc. How they want it to look, and then we dial it down and reverse engineer it.
So in your talk, you're going to deal with how to do that. Is that
it
right?
we're going to look at in the talk, we're going to talk about finding clients, how to find them. So once you find or prospects, once you find your prospects, they're not a client yet. They're just a
Yes, of course.
big, big, big difference, right? And then how you get them into your world. So I use a system called the FANS system, FANS, which you'll find about if you come to the talk. And
Absolutely.
that,
So don't go into too much detail now,
no,
just
no,
a
no,
little
no.
bit.
No, but you'll find out these four elements of how you find them and you bring them into your world that become your clients. And then again, remember how you want your business to look. So most people, most of you may or may not have just started a business and think that'll be great.
Mm.
But if you haven't done it yet, you'll start thinking now about how I want my business to look. Imagine how you want it to be, and then we can start reverse engineering it for you so that it comes not a millstone around your neck. So your dream does become a dream and not a damn nightmare.
I
Okay,
love
that's
it.
what I
I
do.
absolutely love it. Now, before we go, because there is one thing I want to talk to you about in addition, because as you said, you've dealt with a huge amount of ups and downs this year. You've dealt with, you've had a lot of personal challenges on top of all that. In the middle of all that, and you've just finished the year in Bali, and we were just talking that one of the things you were doing was laughing yoga, which I love because I've done it and I've done it in India, and it was great fun, and it really does help you to feel really good. But and in the conference group earlier this week, we had a whole thing on self care. So, do you want to talk a little bit about, say, laughing yoga and say people minding themselves, advice as a coach on because a lot of times you are self-employed,
Yeah.
and even whether whether there's someone at home or not, even if there is, they don't necessarily understand the stuff that you're going through on an ongoing basis, the clients you're dealing with, the self-employment aspect, da da da. Da. So the importance of self-care just in the midst of all that.
Importance of self-care is vitally important, John. As we said, if you work for a job, you have a job. By law, you have to have lunch breaks. By law, you have to have tea break, coffee break. By law, you have to take holiday,
Hmm.
vacation, time away from health and safety. Because if you fall over and break your leg, you can sue them, right? Because you sound fatigued or stressed. So you have to take that break. When you work for yourself, you need to have these same disciplines factored into your business that you are going to make X amount of money, part of your goals that you need to pay your bills and live a reasonable lifestyle. That amount of money factoring in, you're taking 5 weeks holiday, like you'd have to do if you took a job. Treat it seriously. And self-care, we were talking about various protocols that we use to help people with self-care, hypnotic protocols that we use. Of course, I'm a trained hypnotherapist myself, and this is what I help holistic practitioners to do so that when they come home, they don't take the God, half the things we help clients with, you don't want that stuff stuck on you. You don't want to be taking that home. That will put you into dis-ease pretty quickly, right? Equally, if your family's driving you nuts, you don't be taking that to work. Your clients don't deserve that either. They need your full presence so that you can give your very best work. You give your very best work, your positioning in the marketplace will go higher. It means your income can go higher because you're giving a better performance even quicker to your clients. And yeah, when I was in Bali, one of the things I learned years ago was laughing yoga. And you laugh. It's not there's ways to laugh because laugh certain sounds of laughs exercise various organs, which release toxins, release serotonin, bring about dopamine, etc., etc. And there's quite a lot to it, way more than it seems. So when I was at the business retreat, I did laughing yoga for people, and it went down a storm with business people. I've always been known as the hippie in a suit. And when I was there, I saw the person who brought laughing yoga into Bali, who was one of my trainers. He welcomed me into his ashram, had a private visitation with him, if you will. And he asked me to stay and teach his students in his ashram, which was a huge, huge honor. It
So
really.
obviously, as you teach laughing yoga, and you did it at the conference or in Bali. I mean, you can see it's been part of your toolkit, if you like, to
Yeah.
help you through the year that you've just had. Um, and yeah, there's nothing better than laughing to feel good. And sometimes it's just for the fact of laughing, and it's just generating that
It,
feeling.
laughing for the sake of laughing, but you get the same benefits. You get
Absolutely.
benefits, and it does.
Absolutely. And you know what, Grant? If time allows, we might even find an opportunity somewhere in the midst of the conference to let you introduce that. But we'll see about that. We'll see how that goes.
We may do a breakout session.
There
Yes.
you go.
You
Yeah,
got to keep an open mind because it looks really weird if you're not
it
used to it. You
does. But I
understand the
promise, for
concept.
someone who's done it, and I've done it at like 6:30 in the morning in India, it's like,
Yeah.
in a park and you're with a group of people and you're being taught a certain way to do this, and you're still laughing at your friends because they're doing the funniest. Everybody just looks a little odd, but it is one of the best things. It's one of the memories that stays with me from that trip.
It
So,
really is. You got to build your business. You got to have that part of your brain, and you got to deliver your best practice to your clients,
yeah.
and you got to take care of yourself.
And that's the
So
key, it's taking care of yourself. And I mean, that's just another tool in that toolkit, because as hypnotists, we know loads of tools. We don't always apply them for
uh,
ourselves.
uh, there we are.
Grant,
Brilliant.
thank you so much. It's been a lovely conversation, and I really look forward to seeing you in Dublin in April. Your room will be full again. It'll be great. And for anyone who is going to see Grant, we look forward to seeing you on the 5th and 6th of April. Anyone who's coming to the conference, all the details are on www.irishhypnotherapyconference.ie. And it's going to be an amazing event. 30 speakers from 4 continents, I think. It's just going to be absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best in the world. So I look forward to seeing you all there. And Grant, thank you and have an amazing day. And everyone else, wherever you are in the world, have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. A pleasure. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.